Reflection for the 14th Sunday after Pentecost.
No one can serve two masters. Jesus says it so plainly in the gospel today that even a child can feel the tug of it. We know what it's like to be pulled in two directions. Part of us wanting God, part of us chasing the little kingdoms of comfort, control, and approval. Then the Lord points to the birds and the lilies and tells us not to be anxious, but to seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, trusting that all these things will be added. That isn't a call to wishful thinking. It's an invitation to freedom. St. John Chrysostom noticed that Jesus does not forbid work. He forbids worry. The Lord isn't scolding our labor. He is rescuing our hearts from anxious care so that our work can become worship. Paul's voice in the epistle pulls in the same direction. Walk by the Spirit, he says to the Galatians, and then he draws a sharp contrast. The works of the flesh on one side, selfishness, impurity, factions, envy, and the fruit of the Spirit on the other. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. It's striking that he uses the word fruit. Fruit grows where roots drink deeply. Jesus is telling us where to plant our roots. Paul is showing us the harvest that comes when we do. St. Augustine liked to say that our love is our weight. It carries us where we go. If we love the Lord first, our lives begin to lean toward the things that last. The propers of the Mass quietly train this leaning of the heart. The introit calls God our protector and dares to ask him to look upon the face of your anointed, as though to say, Father, behold us in your beloved Son. The collect admits what we already know if we're honest. Without God's steady help, we slip, we scatter, we serve the wrong master. So the Church asks for perpetual mercy, to be kept from what harms and steered toward what truly saves. Then in the communion prayer, we hear again the Lord's promise, seek first the kingdom, and we receive the bread of that very kingdom. It's as if the liturgy puts the gospel in our hands and on our tongues until trust becomes our habit. But how do we live this in kitchens and carpools, classrooms and offices? Jesus gives us simple, homely images, birds and lilies. They do what God made them to do. They receive what the Father gives. Sainte Thérèse, so small and so brave, learned to rest in that truth. She liked to call herself a little bird who is weak but looks at the sun. We can do the same. When a bill looms or a conversation worries us, we can pause and say, Father, you know what I need. I choose your kingdom first. That choice might look like honesty when a half-truth would be easier. Prayer before scrolling. A quiet act of generosity when fear tells us to hoard. Freedom grows one small yes at a time. Serving one master also means letting the Spirit clean out the corners where worry hides. The works of the flesh often wear respectable clothes. Resentment renamed prudence, envy disguised as concern, gossip presented as just sharing. The Spirit's fruit exposes these counterfeits by giving us something better. Patience in place of irritation, kindness where sarcasm wants the last word, self-control when impulse itches for a click or a bite or a boast. St. Francis de Sales counseled that gentleness is the surest sign of strength. It's the Spirit's way of letting love rule the will. If you want to know which master you're serving, look at the fruit that follows your choices. This doesn't mean pretending that needs aren't real. Jesus knows the reality of food and clothing and rent. He teaches us to pray. Give us this day our daily bread. And then he invites us to trust the giver more than the gifts. Saint Teresa of Avila could say, let nothing disturb you. God alone suffices. Not because life was easy for her, it wasn't, but because she learned where to rest her weight. We can learn it too. A simple practice helps. Whenever anxiety rises, bring it under a single sentence. Jesus, I choose you. And then do the next right thing in front of you. The next choice we make shows whom we belong to. Notice too how seek first the kingdom frees us for love. When God is first, neighbors stop being threats or competitors and start being fellow travelers. The fruit of the Spirit is wonderfully useful in a home. Love setting the tone at the table, patience taking the sting out of a tantrum, gentleness turning an argument into a conversation, self control closing the mouth before the cutting remark gets out. Parents can model this seeking by simple priorities: family prayer before bed, Sunday Mass without bargaining, work done with integrity even when no one is watching. Children can learn it by sharing first, speaking truthfully, and asking Jesus for help when they're angry or afraid. Little choices reveal the real master. At the altar, we learn again why all of this is possible. The Father looks upon the face of his anointed, Christ who served the Father perfectly, and in him we are welcomed, forgiven, fed. The Eucharist is the place where the two roads divide and then meet. We lay down our divided hearts, and Christ gives us his undivided heart. He who told us to look at birds and lilies places into our hands the living bread of heaven, the pledge that the Father's care will not fail. So perhaps this week we can keep 3 short prayers close. First, Father, I trust you. Say it when you open your eyes in the morning. Second, Holy Spirit, plant your fruit in me. Say it before the hard conversation, the meeting, the math test, the temptation. Third, Jesus, I choose you. Say it when anxiety picks up speed. These are small keys that open big doors. No one can serve 2 masters. The line is honest, but it's not harsh. It's mercy. Jesus is freeing us from a tug of war that was never meant to be our life. Seek first the kingdom. Walk by the Spirit. Let the Father be your Father. Then watch how peace and joy, quiet, sturdy, contagious, begin to grow, and how the ordinary work of your day becomes worship that lasts.